Today was interesting. My son let me borrow his car to run my mom around. She had to go to two doctor's appointments, and she ended up being like a half an hour late for the second one because the first one took too long. It was crazy. It was just crazy. And then by the time I got home, it was like 8 hours later, and my son was not too happy with me because we thought, well, I thought it was only going to be about 3 or 4 hours. I didn't realize it was going to be an all day thing. But in the course of the day, because I'm having to sit and wait all day, I had a book with me and I was just reading it. It's a book I've been reading for a while, and it's a story called Suitcases or The Suitcases. It's about three girls who had lost their mother, and dad was very depressed, obviously, and they ended up in an orphan home. Now, what got me is how it happened. It was in the 1930s during the Depression period. Could have been earlier than that. And mom had passed away, and then there was dad and grandpa. And grandpa did what he could to help, but then grandpa died. And then there was just dad. Dad had to work all day, so he did what he could for the girls. And when they got home, he would take them out for dinner. And he was just, you know, when the wife was alive, he was all, bubbles and charm and that kind of thing. And of course, after mom died, he was so depressed. He was just going through the routine. He was showing the girls that he loved them, but he wasn't super happy. And of course, he wasn't very good at taking care of the girls as it was. And one day, while dad was gone to work, social services came in and scooped up the girls and took off with them. And in the process, they were given these cardboard suitcases, which is what all their treasures were in. Anything that was important to them was in that. And they got passed from a Catholic home to a orphan home to a country home to a nurse's home and eventually to a place that ended up being their home. They were passed around a lot. Uh, the oldest daughter almost got killed by one of the other kids, and it was just crazy. And what bothered me is, the girls, as far as the girls were concerned, dad just ignored the fact that they even existed. And but if you read carefully between the lines, you can tell dad tried to go visit with the girls and he got chased off. And but the girls saw it as dad didn't want to be around. They didn't relate it to dad wasn't allowed to have anything to do with the girls. So it was very frustrating. And I asked my mom about it. I told my mom about the story I was reading, and she goes, "That was very common." Because she grew up in the time period, and she said that she had friends and neighbors, kids from school. That was the city just came in and just took the kids. Parents didn't know anything about what was going on. They weren't. Nothing was discussed. It was just decided you're not taking care of your kids properly, and they just took off with the kids and not tell you where the kids went. And so, and not tell the kids anything. Nobody was told anything. The kids are gone. They're not told what's going on with the parents. The parents aren't being told what's going on with the kids. And it was just a really bad situation. But in the end, the girls did end up with a family who was supposed to be their foster family, and eventually, I guess, ended up adopting them, but I'm not really sure. Um, but the mother was very adamant about the girls being reconnected with their actual family. 'Cause she thought what she was told is that the girls had no family, there was no relatives, no nothing. And when they asked the girls, you know, what's the story about your family? They're like, oh yeah, our dad's alive, and we got an aunt in town here. We basically grew up in this town. Where she's like, really? And so the mother, the foster mother, went and found the family and got in touch. And the sad thing was, is the family was kind of standoffish. They came and visit with the girls, but they really didn't reconnect like they were supposed to. And I guess back in those days when they were labeled as orphans, nobody ever wanted them after that point. But this woman made them her girls, and she took care of them, and she loved them, and she never told anybody the whole time they were being taken care of by her. She just said, "These are my daughters." She never said, my foster kids or they're orphans or anything like that. She just said, "These are my daughters." And as far as anybody was concerned, that's the way it was. I thought that was a really. I haven't quite finished the story yet. I guess the story is told from the middle. There's older three girls, and it's told by the middle girl, and she had a lot of attitude problems and this and that and the other, and she was getting ready for high school, and the mom decided to send her off to a school for kids who are like her and hope for the best. And so they sent her off, and sure enough, she not only did well in school, she exceeded well in school, and she did business school. And by the time she was done, she was ready to go out in the world, and I guess she was getting set up for college or some special school or something like that. I don't know. I haven't got that far yet. But she was getting ready to be out on her own, and I thought that was kind of cool. And I've I've been there from the mother's point of view. It's like I took three kids in, and but their dad was here. I married their dad, and did what I could to show them I love them. They may not believe me. Sometimes my frustration in raising those kids is our kids is that I had to be the bad guy all the time. When anything bad had bad news, forcing the rules, whatever. I had to be the bad guy all the time, and I really got tired of it because I didn't want the kids to see me as the bad guy. But that was kind of my role. But I did love them. I do love them. They're still around. They all moved off. The three moved off into their own lives, and they know I love them, and I try to do what I can for them even now, as they're all grown up and got kids of their own. I still try to show them I love them, do things for them. Recently, we sent them a package. So I don't know. What would you? Has any of you been through any of that stuff? It's hard to explain, until you've been there. I have a sister who doesn't think she gave birth to six kids. I gave birth to one and married a guy who had three more. And when I was working at the hospital doing baby photography, my sister was a baby photographer and she was training me. And one of my frustrations is every time we went into a room and we were talking about moms, said, "Oh, you got any kids?" "Well, yeah, I got four." I figured it was good enough to leave it there. But no, my sister had to go out and say, "Well, I gave birth to six kids. She gave birth to one. She's raising the other three." And it's like, do they really need to know that information? Who cares? I'm trying to put myself in their position. They're all good. I will tell you, now my sister is all proud of herself because she's only been married the one time, and she's raised her six kids, and the youngest, number five, just graduated from high school and she's going into college. Number six, I think, is a teenager. Well, he's got to be a teenager now. I don't know what's going on with him. He's just, has his own thing. But, you know, she's got her kids, but she doesn't understand that raising a blended family is a lot harder than raising a family that's not. When When you got the two, mom and dad and all the kids, that's nothing in comparison to raising a blended family, especially one when there was so much drama before we got started. And which is usually why a blended family is hard, because you do have a lot of drama before you ended up being a family, and you got a lot of background and baggage, and the kids have backgrounds and baggages, and you just got to work things out, and learn to accept each other, learn to love each other. When we got married, it was more of a, not just a case of mom and dad are getting married. It was a case of all of us are becoming a family because of this marriage, and so therefore this is how it's going to be. And which is why I wanted to make sure the kids were all okay with the idea of us getting married before we did. So anyway, I went off on a tangent. But yeah, that book, that story is a very interesting story. Um, I think if you ever try to understand what it's like to be a foster child, or um, living in orphan situation, or passed around from house to house, I think that would be a good book to help people understand what they go through and what they really need in the end. It's kind of cool. Well, that's my rant for tonight. Good night.